Good day, everyone. I am Michael, the moderator for this webinar. I welcome everyone for today's webinar, which is 2025 HIPAA Texting and Emailing Do's and Don'ts. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our presenter for today, Brian L. Turtle. Brian L. Turtle is a certified professional in health IT, CPHIT, certified HIPAA professional, CHP, certified HIPAA administrator, CHA, certified business reliance auditor, CBRA, and certified information systems security professional, CISSP, with over 70 years of experience in health, IT, and compliance consulting. I would now like to hand over the floor to the speaker. Over to you, Brian.
Thank you very much. Thing came out in 1996. Patients have a civil right to access their medical information. Patients have a civil right to control who can view their medical information. Patients have a civil right to know who has viewed their medical information. Patients have a civil right to the security of their protected health information, and they have a civil right to know if there has been a breach of their medical information. What's the difference between the privacy rule and the security rule? So the privacy rule deals with protected health information in any form, verbal, paper, electronic. The security rule deals only with electronic protected health information. Let's talk about business associates. 10 times more business associates than there are covered entities in the United States. Business associates have to comply directly with the regulation. A couple changes with the privacy rule that are applicable to this webinar. One is using a personal device of a patient. A patient now can bring their personal smartphone into the clinical area, and they can take notes on their smartphone from what the provider's saying, and they can take pictures of their personal health information. Now, I want to go through these security rule proposed changes, and I really highlighted the major points here. The HIPAA Security Rule was written in 2003, updated in 2009, sort of, with the HITECH Act. The proposals aim to strengthen the current standards by the following. A lot of the terminology is going to be updated because, again, this thing was written quite some time ago and some terms need to change. But greater specificity when we do our risk assessments. Strengthened requirements for contingencies. Risk assessment is going to have to be done annually. The requirement to encrypt protected health information at rest and in transit with limited exceptions. Multi-factor authentication. Require regulated entities to review policies and procedures on an annual basis. And same with group health plans and telecommuting, working remotely. You need to make sure your telecommuting policy is current, that no one is to ever download any medical information to the local hard drive. Encryption when working remotely, wireless networks need to be encrypted to at least WPA2. It's best to be paperless. In 2023, 133 million were affected. It was worse in 2024. You cannot go cheap on your technology. Equally as important is the education of the staff. And you know what email spoofing is. A ransomware attack, if it in fact attaches to unencrypted protected health information, is a reportable breach. Let's talk about transmitting PHI through email, the MAC address of the network card on the device even. Now, old information can still be construed as PHI. Individuals also have the right to request a provider communicate with him or her by alternative means or at alternative locations if reasonable. So how do we apply reasonable and appropriate due diligence when transmitting protected health information? The very first implementation specification of all 44 is risk analysis. Find the risks, manage the risks. Key words to understanding the HIPAA security rule, reasonable and appropriate. The transmission security standard. Have all pathways by which you will be transmitting. Develop and implement policies. We move to the first implementation specification under transmission security. And there's only two, by the way. Integrity controls. What are you sending? That's very, very, very important. Now we go to encryption. Is encryption reasonable and appropriate? Yes. Feasibility could be a problem in certain circumstances. All right, moving on from that, let's talk about personal device use, BYOD. Obviously, when using personal devices, you got to have policies here. Your number one compliance worry with portable devices is theft. they have to be encrypted. Covered entities or business associates, yeah, we have to have HIPAA policies on this. No texting of protected health information is allowed. Texting's got a lot of advantages. Negatives, of course, it's on the device, doesn't get deleted. Bottom line is this. The security rule brings in most of the violations. Bottom line is there is no such thing as a certification here. And even with the new changes and a lot of compliance is writing down and bragging on the good things you're already doing. Well, I think that's all I have. I hope you guys enjoyed that for as much as you can enjoy a speech on HIPAA.
Thank you, Brian. So that does conclude the session for today. Thank you everyone for participating. You may all disconnect now. Have a great day ahead. Bye-bye.
Thank you.